And welcome back to PNC. Crime and addiction go hand in hand, as GPD spokesman Sergeant Paul Tapau says many addicts are fueled by their need to feed the addiction. Here's PNC's Jolene Toves with more.
In 2018, GPD reported 1,502 burglaries, 354 motor vehicle thefts, 2,273 larceny thefts, and 99 robberies. In October of this year, GPD reported 101 theft of property, 9 theft of services, 1 identity theft, 82 burglaries, 6 robberies, and 21 thefts of motor vehicles. Sergeant Tapau says that violent crimes are often committed for instant cash needed to fund a drug addiction like methamphetamine.
Addiction is a problem here in the island, and the Guam Police Department understands what we need to do and how we can work with our citizens who are battling addiction. But the root cause of that, it really is addiction, because people, in order to feed addiction, you need to have the funding source to be able to feed that addiction. So some people are not that fortunate to have that funding source to feed the addiction, so they're going to resort to criminal activities such as burglary, such as car break-ins, and such as the extreme as robbery and home invasions.
He says that a lot of these cases that GPD has entertained were committed to fill an addiction.
We understand that it is moving into an epidemic, but understanding how we need to deal with addiction, it really starts with recovery and the individual seeking help. We can do all our part with the Guam Police Department with drug and addiction and everything. Take all the reports, take all the cases, and bring closure to that. But unless that individual needs or seeks the help that they need, that's where we find the cure. That's where we find the tools to battle this epidemic with crystal methamphetamine.
Reporting for PNC News, I'm Jolene Toves.
In regional news, veterans from the CNMI, Palau, and others in the Micronesia region were also honored on Veterans Day for their service. In the CNMI, Governor Ralph Torres saluted all veterans who served in times of conflict and in times of peace. He said their commitment to the principles of the nation and their personal sacrifice to preserve those principles shall never go unnoticed. In other parts of the CNMI, the Office of the Mayor of Tinian and Aguidzin also organized a Veterans Day ceremony recognizing their sacrifice to uphold duty and country.
As I had mentioned before, the CNMI alone has one of the highest number of sons and daughters in the armed forces. Our people have seen and lived through the sacrifices, dedications, commitment, and courage to serve this great country of ours.
In Palau, President Tommy Ringsingai Jr. he declared November 11th as a day to honor Palauan veterans, saying that for over the past 25 years, many Palauan men and women have had the privilege to serve as members of the U.S. Armed Forces, and their service has helped the U.S. protect not only its homeland, territories, and the freely associated states, but also freedom-loving people all over the world. Following the success of its job fair at the Agana Shopping Center, the Guam Census Office returned over the weekend to recruit for the 2020 Guam Census. PNC's Luella Lucino has more.
On Saturday, teams from the Guam Census Office, the Bureau of Statistics and Plans, and the Office of the Governor set up shop in the center court of the Agana Shopping Center from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. to provide applications and conduct on-site interviews to prospective applicants. In an earlier interview with PNC, officials said that at its height, the Guam Census Office would require around 800 employees performing data gathering to administrative tasks. With the need to fill up hundreds of job vacancies in such short amount of time, the team plans to hold another job fair at the Micronesia Mall on Friday, November 15 from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Conducted every 10 years, the census acts as a valuable resource in the production of grants, policy planning, and program improvements. This is Luella Lucina for PNC News First.
Today, the Guam Department of Labor and the Guam Contractors Association kicked off a two-day industry forum at the Dusit Tani, Guam, with TV host, contractor, and DIY advocate Kayleen McCabe. The forum, which coincides with National Apprenticeship Week, features McCabe as its keynote speaker. McCabe spoke about her personal journey and why she chose to work in construction and not in any other industry, saying she comes from a very handy family. Her father's a welder, her mother's a nurse who once worked here on Guam back in the 60s. And McCabe also shared how how respect for careers in construction and trade should be reestablished and that another pathway should be offered to those who prefer to go this route. Every person should be given the option to explore construction and trades, according to McCabe, and for this reason, McCabe says she applauds Guam for incentivizing opportunities for those who prefer to go into these types of industry. Tomorrow, the forum continues with more sessions on apprenticeship and training. Typhoon season is well underway here, and there is somewhat of a disturbance just to the east of the Marianas. However, Guam, for now, seems to be in the clear, according to NWS. Classified as Tropical Storm 26W as of now, the concealing weather system that is forming just to the east of the Marianas poses no threat to Guam. Though that could change, experts are not anticipating that the storm will have any, if very little, effect to the island.
All of our guidance points to it keeping this west-northwest motion and curving to the north near the far northern CNMI. So they, the islands of Pagan, Agrigan, Alamagan, they're in a little bit more of a worry with this storm. But for us, the main CNMI and Guam, it doesn't pose much of a threat to us.
Of course, we will be tracking the system, and if anything changes, you can rely on PNC News First as well as pncguam.com for any changes or updates. The AM radio signal of the Sorensen Media Group's K57 radio station was heard in Finland last week by a forest research center, person who turned in from above the Arctic Circle. He sent us an email to let us know, and PNC's Kevin Carradine called him to find out exactly what he heard.
I am almost 6,000 miles away from Guam, and that's really far.
It's a fluke of nature called skywave propagation that enabled Jirkai Hitonyen to pick up the K57 radio signal last week as he was sitting in a cabin above the Arctic Circle in faraway Finland.
I heard you when I traveled 200 miles above the Arctic Circle in Finnish Lapland. I had very long directional antennae, over 3,000 feet long.
At night, when the conditions are right, an AM radio signal can bounce off the ionosphere and skip around the globe for thousands of miles.
Because the sunlight, the darkness, the signals can be reflected back to Earth. They can hop from Earth to the atmosphere and back several times to reach Finland.
Jirkai says conditions have been especially good in recent weeks because sunspot activity is at a minimum.
The sun is now very quiet. The solar cycle lasts for 11 years and now is the minimum. It also helps a lot for long-distance reception.
Jirkai is a forestry researcher who has been studying the effects of carbon emissions on the forests of Finland. But he's been a radio aficionado since he was 15 years old.
It's always amazing to hear faraway signals.
Kevin Carradine, PNC News First.
And coming up next, Destiny Cruz has your weather forecast. Leo Payumo has PNC Sports First. Don't go anywhere. Stay tuned.
Happy day, Marianas. Welcome to your local weather forecast. I'm Destiny Cruz and thanks for tuning in. Well, it looks like we had yet another inconsistent day in terms of the weather, as partly cloudy skies along with some of those isolated showers prevailed over the Marianas. And although we did experience cloudy conditions today, we were still able to feel that signature island heat as daytime temperatures rose to 89 degrees. Thankfully, we had the help of breezy east winds of 10 to 15 miles per hour to cool us off. As we move into this evening, we can look out for similar weather to persist all throughout tonight and through Thursday morning. Evening lows are expected to reach 78 degrees as east winds slow to 5 to 10 miles per hour. And that wraps up today's weather report. Have a great rest of your Tuesday and be sure to tune in next time for more updates. Adios!